Yeah. Hmm? I don't know where I'm going to put it, actually. So, come here. Come here. Come here. Pick it up. Come here. Say hi. Say Shabbat Shalom. Okay. Say Shabbat Shalom. Say Shabbat Shalom. You can't take that. Hmm? Okay. You'll have to let them in.
Zoe, come on. Come on. Can Zoe stay in your room for a little while? Can Zoe stay in your room for a little while? Grab the first and she's gonna bark.
Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Maya Pehayo. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm going to ask you to do what we would all do in the synagogue, which is to turn off your cell phone. So welcome, Shabbat Shalom. I'm so glad that you could join me here for this very unique Shabbat celebration. For many of you, thankfully, this Shabbat finds you back at home. It may be a little sooty, maybe a little smoky, but we all come to understand this week what Dorothy first taught us, that there is indeed no place like home. So for the many who are displaced for many days, welcome home. Out of your homes, we're praying for your speedy return. I come to you this Shabbat from my home here in Porter Ranch. So welcome to the North Valley. As our communal home is being cleaned week. And so this Shabbat, we gather here in Porter Ranch, in West LA, across the internet, but still as community. So if you are with family or friends, we may be joined by a few here as the evening goes on. Gather them around close to you. If you're watching by yourself, I hope you could feel the warmth of the many who are joining with you in this sacred moment as we gather together. After a difficult, disorienting, and anxious week, let's take advantage of this moment to catch our breath, to close our eyes, to relax for a moment, and just be in this moment as we join in a brief Kabbalat Shabbat observance. So I invite you to join with me as we sing together some familiar Shabbat melodies. I can't ask you to turn to a page in the Siddur since you probably don't have one with you. So I've selected some songs that I hope you'll know. But if you don't, feel free to hum along or to just sing La. That works just fine. And as you raise your voices, think about this. Isn't it wonderful and amazing to know that all our voices are joining together from all over Los Angeles, and I dare say from beyond the borders of our city as well. So I invite you to join with me as we sing another version of Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, 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 Shri Hamalot Adonai Et Shivat Now it's your turn. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. You all sound great. As we welcome Shabbat, we turn from the destructive flame of these past days to the warm and comforting glow of our Shabbat candles. We recall the flame of God's light and presence, which has guided us and protected us from the very beginning. Moses found God amidst the flames of the unconsumed burning bush. And by a pillar of fire, God led us through the wilderness and towards the promised land. Told was written with black and white fire. It is the burning flame of God that resides within each of us that compels us to reach out to those who have been harmed and displaced. It is God's light that encourages us to express our gratitude to those who bravely walked into the fire and the smoke in order to protect us and to keep us safe. It is the warm flame of God's presence that we have expressed through our open hearts and open arms as we have given to each other over this past week. The flames of these Shabbat candles remind us weekly of God's warm, comforting, and healing presence. So let us bask in the glow of this sacred light as we welcome Shabbat. If you have your own Shabbat candles, I invite you to light them now and to join with me as we kindle our Shabbat lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Let's join together in welcoming the Shabbat bride into our midst by singing together Lecha Dodi. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela la la. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shabbat v'zachor v'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet liliti la 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 la. Likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuvanelcha, ki him mekor ha'havracha, merosh mikadem nesilcha. So ma'aseh b'machshvat, la 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 la. Likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hit orari, Tiva ore, umi uri, uri, shida beri, Kavod Adonai, like the la 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 la. Likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. So wherever you are, let's rise and join together as we welcome the Shabbat bride into our midst. Bo'ui v'shalom ateret bala, v'gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, toch emunei am segula, Boikala, boikala, la 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 la. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat neKabbalat. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat neKabbalat. La la lecha lecha likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat neKabbalat. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat neKabbalat. And as we welcome the Shabbat bride into our midst, we welcome Shabbat angels. We have been surrounded by angels this week. On Shabbat, we talk about the angels that surround us. During Shabbat, 2 special angels that come to accompany us, but we have many angels in our lives. Certainly we have been aware of them this week as we have dealt with the fires and all. And so I invite you to take a moment to close your eyes, think about the angels around you. Perhaps they're sitting around you right now as we join together. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Olechem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Archuli l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And finally, let's give thanks for the gift of Shabbat by joining together in Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat Tasov et Shabbat ledor. One more time. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat Tasov et Shabbat ledor. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat Tasov et Shabbat ledor. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat Tasov et Shabbat ledor. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vaynafash. Shabbat vaynafash. Shabbat vaynafash. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat. So Shabbat did it so well one more time. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat. So Shabbat I see that some of you have left messages on our YouTube channel. Feel free to join in the chat and welcome each other a Shabbat Shalom. So a little bit about our Torah portion this week, which centerpiece, of course, is rain. If only it were so, actually. Although maybe not so much, because the rain in this Torah portion, of course, is the rain of Noah, and that may be even a little too much rain for us. But it is certainly an interesting portion for this moment in our collective lives, as it tells the story of another natural disaster and one man's valiant attempt to save the world. That man, of course, is Noah, and his name means literally comforter. And that, of course, is what he was. In the face of the great disaster of his time, he provided comfort and shelter for his family and for all those animals. They evacuated their homes and found safety in the ark he built for them, while they waited for the announcement that it was safe for them to go home. So many in our community have relived that story this week. There were so many in need of shelter and so many willing to offer comfort to them while they waited for the signal that it was okay to return home. We have found comfort in words of love and support, and we have found shelter not from a rainstorm, but from a firestorm. In the midst of this difficult week, as we have seen the beautiful expression of the meaning of community, as we reached out to find out how the members of our community were faring. It was so heartening to hear so often, "Thank you, Rabbi. We are doing fine now. We are staying with some friends." And how could one not think about Noah while watching the Simi fire unfold in the past few days? We saw neighbors rush into the smoke and flames with crates for pets and trailers for horses to rescue them 2 by 2, 4 by 4, 10, 20, even 40 at a time. So many provided arks for others, safe spaces in which to wait out the storm, just like Noah. In fact, maybe even a bit better than Noah. You see, our sages wondered about the first line in the story of Noah. In English, it reads, "He was a righteous man in his generation." What does that mean, in his generation? Perhaps that he was really righteous, given the especially evil people that were surrounding him. How difficult it must have been under the circumstances to remain a righteous person. A man who we are told et Elohim hitalech, a man who walked with God. Or perhaps righteous in his generation meant something else. Perhaps it was a backhanded compliment. Yeah, he was righteous in his generation, but would he have been righteous in another generation? After all, look who comes after him next week, Abraham. Now there's a righteous man in any generation. When God told Abraham he was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, did he just say, okay? No, he argued with God. What if there are 50, God, or 40, or 30, or 20, or 10 righteous folks in those towns, God? Abraham simply won't accept God's plan. Noah, on the other hand, did no such thing. As the commentators point out, there was no negotiation. No, Noah saying, God, what if there's 50 or 40 or 30 good people in the world? God didn't go knocking on his neighbors' doors, telling them that storm clouds were brewing and they better change their ways. No, he just looked after his family, got busy building that ark as instructed without a word of protest or an attempt to change the course of events. He just shrugged his shoulders as if to say, what can I do? Now, don't get me wrong. What Noah did was amazing. I mean, he did save the world after all, but he could have done more. And so it is said of him, righteous in his generation. Over these past days, many have done so much more, looking out not only for their own families, but looking out and not looking out only for their friends, but willing to open their ark doors to any in need of shelter. Not just those in the University Synagogue community, but far beyond, other congregations and organizations in the city, and even beyond, as far away as Thousand Oaks. What can we do? How can we help? Who needs some shelter? And we can never forget those who rushed out into the storm, risking their own safety in order to protect us. There are not enough words of gratitude. It is what we are asked to do, of course, to be a source of comfort and safety, to provide an ark for each other in our times of need, a place where we can ride out life storms. We are indeed all blessed to be surrounded by those so willing to provide shelter, a place to stay until the sun comes out again. And we can walk arm in arm out into the brilliant light and clear skies, there to see a rainbow, reminding us of the hope and promise of a new day. The hope and promise we find in abundance in the love, strength, comfort, and courage of the righteous who so willingly, unselfishly, and tirelessly give of themselves for all our sake. And to that we say, Amen. And as we think about the storms that we face, we take a moment to offer a prayer of healing for those of our loved ones, those we hold in our heart, those members of our community suffering illness of body or mind or spirit. Typically at this moment, I would ask you to call out the names of those that you are thinking of. I'll ask you to call them out to those sitting around you in this moment and to call out their names as we offer this prayer of healing for all of those suffering and seeking healing in this moment. You can call out some. Yeah. Mi Shabbat Avotenu Abraham Yitzhak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Uyevarech V'yirapeh et hacholim El Narepana El Narepana El Narepana, El Narepana, Mishatera, Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rita, Rachel, Leah, Yevarech, Yirapeh, Acholi. We turn now to those, we remember those whose shoulders we stand upon, those who walk the path of life before us. We recall the bright, warm flame of their love that sheltered us and protected us, that comforted us, and that we continue to hold in our hearts. We recall first those who have died in recent days, whose families are in the period of Shloshim. We remember Bella Izbelinskaya, Dr. Bernard Hammermish, Marilyn Waldman, Marilyn Stampler, Vera Walensky, and Robert Bob Wegg. And we remember as well those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their passing, falls on this Shabbat. Barbara Adashek, Molly Edelman, Herman Beerwald, Melvin Berlant, Marwin Bernards, Jerry Koash, Irving Coleman, Rose DeBro, Leonard Fryman, Louis Friedman, Melvin Gantman, Henry Gray, Ann Greenberg, Herbert Hamrell, Edward Jacobs, David Kapoor, Rose Katz, Cecilia Lawson, Dorothy Levine, Melvin Moldberger, Rona Paymar, Aaron Reifman, Edward Rudberg, Erwin Rosen, Sulana Ross Chiat, Max Singer, Tilly Spielman, Raymond J. Sprague, Stephen Wagmeister, Bernard Weiner, Solomon Mann, and David Westheimer. Of them and our loved ones, we say Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be always for blessing. Do you have names to add?
Michelle Rosenberg.
And we'll all rise wherever we are. Let's rise together and we'll join together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah be'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavorach la'olam u'amei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh Vit Hadar, Vit Ale, Vit Halal, Shemei de Kudsha, Berichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all the bereaved among us. And we say, Amen. So while we're standing, we'll join together in thanking God for the sweetness of the blessings that we share together. If you have a Kiddush cup or a wine glass or wine, grape juice around you, take a moment and pour, and we'll all join together. Good wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratza banu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh b'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'i kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim ki banu b'charta v'tanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. And challah. We have challah. Do you have challah? If you have challah, gather everybody around. You guys can put your hands on here. We'll put hands on the challah together. And we'll join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz Shabbat shalom. Matei Avon, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. I hope you have a restful and a calm weekend. Thank you for joining us here this evening. I invite you, you can find a Zoom link for Chevrat Torah right back here in our home tomorrow, just upstairs. And so please join with us for Chevrat Torah. And we'll study a little Noach together. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.